B40, the final stage. I didn't think I'd be saying that for a while, but here it is. It's come around now and it's time to get it done. The Kemptner Hütte to Oberstdorf, just under 14 kilometers in distance, no more than 70 meters elevation, but the trail starts with a descent down to the valley for the first 3.5 kilometers, and then 10 kilometers of walking through the valley to the final point. So let's get it done, let's get on the trail and begin the last stage. On leaving the hut, we pick up this easy walking forest trail that descends down through this gorge. The mountains of the Allgäu, very rugged, very nice. I'm particularly happy that we're walking in the shade down through the, let's see if I can pronounce this right, the Speerbachtebel Gorge. Maybe that's not the correct saying, but anyway, the trail goes down there. This is a beautiful section coming down through this gorge, wild and rugged and in the shade for me, which is perfect. So that's 1.5 kilometers in. We've got another maybe 1.5 kilometers to go before we reach the valley floor. 2 kilometers in, still pretty steep down. Now we're going through this forest. 2.5 kilometers in, we've got a crossing point on this river so you can fill up before heading up that trail. Look at all these raspberries. I'm going to stop here and get a load. They're beautiful and they're in season. I must have picked about 200 grams of those raspberries. They were perfect. That's the steep section done. Well, the steep descent done. And now the trail's walking through this nice beech forest. But at some point, we're going to join the road. Almost 5 kilometers in, walking through this forest still, following this creek. That's where I've come down from. And sadly, this is the last of the trails. Oberstdorf, 2 hours, and it looks like it's on asphalt. So maybe 9 kilometers left. Let's get this trail finished before lunch. This is the halfway point on the trail. There's a couple of restaurants and bars there. Stop and get some food. Not for me today. I want to push on. I want to get this trail done before it gets too hot. It's going to be 30 degrees this afternoon, and I don't want to be on the trail in that heat. That's a welcoming sight. The Alpina yellow sign, Oberstdorf 1 3/4 hours, and getting off the asphalt and back into the woods. In an hour, I'm going to be finished with this trail. I like to reflect on the trail, and I'm going to share with you now my immediate thoughts. The Alpina yellow, 845 kilometers, 45,000 meters elevation. For my UK friends, that's 35 back-to-back ascents of Ben Nevis, and it's spread over 40 stages. I've hiked the whole trail in 33 days on trail. I took a break halfway through to go and hand my house over that had sold, and I took one other rest day in the Dolomites. This trail is beautiful. If you had to put pen to paper and draw a trail that encompasses all the elements of a great adventure, this is it. You start off in Trieste at sea level, you hike through the Karst Plateau and then through wine country. Then you come through the uninhabited natural Natisona Valley before crossing the last wilderness of the Alps in Resia. Afterwards, you traverse the Carnic Alps, then the Dolomites, then the Marana Hohenweg, then the glaciers on the Utzel Alps, the Lechtal Alps, and finally the Allgäu, finishing at the Bavarian alpine town of Oberstdorf. It's a beautiful trail. The tragedy is, when this trail was released in the year 2000, shortly afterwards the Via Alpina organisation have abandoned it. And for me, that's a tragedy. The trail still exists. As you've seen from the videos, the trail markers still exist. And for the first time, there's a video catalogue of every single stage available on YouTube. So if anyone from the Via Alpina organisation is watching this, take ownership of this trail and let's get it revitalised as an official trail. For me, my relationship with hiking is I fall in love with it and want to marry it, and then I hate it and want to divorce it. And many through hikers will probably laugh at that comment. I'm not there yet, but after I finish this stage, I'll be taking a break and looking forward to getting back on trail probably in the later part of the year. So hopefully you've enjoyed this video series. If you're thinking about hiking the Via Alpina Yellow, hopefully you find it useful. And I'm going to continue the last 4 or 5 kilometers and then be getting off trail. I'm very pleased that I was wrong back there about the paths finishing and having to walk on asphalt. I picked up this beautiful forest trail through this, well, first of all it was a beech forest, now it's a mixed forest, and I'm about 5 kilometers from the finish point. I'm not sure this trail will go all the way, but it's very, very nice hiking out of the sun and off the asphalt for as long as possible. 9 kilometers in, out the forest, in this hot pasture, making our way into Oberstdorf on this gravel track. Probably about 4.5, 5 kilometers left, so less than an hour. Probably 2.5 kilometers from the end. Managed to find a gravel track to walk on. Just pick your own route along here, guys. It's busy. Hikers, cyclists, motorbikes. So I picked up this route, staying off the asphalt, so hopefully I can get as far as I can into the town on this path. Oberstdorf, half an hour. Crossing this bridge. If there was a lot more water in there, I'd probably get into a swim if it was earlier on in the trail, but it's not. And I'm nearly finished, so I'm not going to do that today. Pretty happy that this path continues all the way into Oberstdorf on this gravel track, as opposed to walking on the asphalt road. I think I mentioned that earlier, but yeah, not long now, maybe 20 minutes, 25 minutes. Just coming through the town now. Last time I was here was 2 years ago when I was walking the Via Alpina Red Trail, traversing the Alps from east to west. Now it's south to north. Less than a kilometre to go to the station, which is the finish point. This is the town square next to the station here in Oberstdorf, which marks the end of stage B40 and indeed the end of the Via Alpina Yellow Trail. Stage 40 then, 14.5 kilometers, 100 meters elevation, and that's it. No more stages. So thank you very much for following, and I'll see you on the next trail.